Hey, how's it going? The South African singer Tyla recently made an appearance on The Breakfast Club in which she refused to answer a question about her racial identity. In case you haven't seen the clip, here it is.
School me on these debates that they be having about your identity as a South African colored person. What does that even mean?
Can we not? Por favor.
Oh, I like that. We keeping that in the interview too.
Oh, man.
I like when they talk from the back and say we can't. I like that. I like that. That's good. That's even better.
Next one, please.
That's even better.
Yo, stupid, yo.
Did you see?
All right, well, first off, I feel like Charlamagne's being a bit of a dick. Like, personally, if I was interviewing someone and she made it pretty clear that she didn't want to answer a specific question, I don't think I'd force it. I get it's the Breakfast Club and it's supposed to be uncensored and raw and all that, but generally, I'm not a fan of this norm where your guest comes to give you an interview and then you ask a question which the guest clearly doesn't want to answer, and then you leave in their botched attempt at not answering the question, which, some people might disagree with me on that, but yeah, I just think it's a more hospitable environment for a conversation when everybody's on the same page about what goes in and what goes out. And yeah, like if it's embarrassing for her and she doesn't want to talk about it for whatever reason, I think the onus is on the interviewer to respect that desire. So that's point number one. And point number two is just the question, when I first heard about it, seemed kind of odd to me. Like I couldn't understand. Like the question was, school me on these debates that people be having around your identity as a colored South African woman, which, I don't know shit about South Africa or what it means to be colored and blah, blah, blah. So I was just like, what is a debate to be had? Like, she is what she is. So I looked it up. I went on BBC, and apparently, over in South Africa, colored is its own distinct racial and cultural category that has been forged through the history of apartheid. And apartheid, if you don't know, is a regime of racial segregation that ended in the 1990s, I believe. And it's bad. It's not good. I'm not a fan of apartheid. Personally, I'm a fan of Together Tide. So over there, it's its own distinct thing. And according to this article that I found on the BBC, it says that in South Africa, the Population Registration Act of 1950 required people to be registered into one of four racial categories: white, black, Indian, or colored. And Michael Morris, head of the media at the South African Institute of Race Relations, says the history of the colored community is complex, but quintessentially South African. So I read that, and then all of a sudden I came to understand what the nature of this controversy must be. Basically, in South Africa, you got colored people, and it's not a big deal. But back over here in America, we got colored people, and or we don't call them colored people, and that's offensive, because, the term colored harkens back to the Jim Crow era, when segregationist laws were instituted in the southern states to oppress black Americans after slavery was banned. So now I get the debate, right? Side A says that Tyla is a South African colored woman, and that is perfectly fine and totally acceptable. And Side B says, bitch, you can't be saying that. That's racist. And upon learning of this dichotomy, I have aligned myself with Side A for the obvious reason that the public discussion around race in America is pretty retarded, and I wouldn't want to impose the norms of American racial politics onto a South African context. Like, it doesn't make sense. American norms are stupid, and I'm sure South Africans, even after having just gone through apartheid, probably have a better idea of where they want to go racially as a country. So I'm not that judgmental or confused by Tyla's aversion to answering the question now, right? Like, she doesn't want to get roped up into America's retarded obsession with race, which is fair, because some of the things that people have been saying are pretty dumb. For example, the article quotes one user on X, formerly known as Twitter, who said, "We are not going to call her colored here, and if she personally demands it, her career will end before it begins." I don't know why we got to get so extreme with it. Like, if the bitch wants to be called colored, let her be called colored. It shouldn't be a big deal. She goes on to say, or he or she, or they, who knows, whatever the pronouns are, I'd be down to respect them. It's not a big deal to me. They say, she's trying to cross over into an American market. She won't be able to use that word here. She can use it somewhere else, though. And then the article also tells the story of a Miss Lindsay Ebony Chutel, who went through a similar experience as Tyla at Columbia University when she introduced herself as a colored South African woman on the first day. The article says, "It did not go down well with her classmates. Her roommate pulled her aside and said she had made the American students feel uncomfortable. She was forced to defend her own identity, background, and culture while trying to assuage the discomfort of others. I understand that it is a slur, but that's not the only story here," she says with a deep sigh. She warns that it is dangerous for Americans to try to be the arbiter when it comes to blackness, because there is no single way of being black, nor is there a single way of being colored. Now, personally, I take issue with the use of the word dangerous there. Like, I don't understand why every time we talk about race, we gotta act like we're passing around a stick of dynamite or some shit. Like, why can't it just be, you got different colored skin, I got different colored skin? Like, let's talk about it in a cool, calm, and collected fashion, you know? But, yeah, as I was saying, I don't think it's dangerous, but I can definitely understand how one would find it really fucking annoying when you consider how nonsensical and dishonest so much of American racial discourse is. And here I got a couple bones to pick with you blacks. Excuse me. What I meant to say was the distinguished members of the American black delegation who may be watching this video. Now, American black people, I fuck with y'all. I fuck with y'all for real, alright? I love the way you talk. I love your hair. I've never asked to touch it in my life because I know you guys, you hate that shit. But yeah, I'm a really big fan of black culture. I love what you do. I'm a big Okay, I sound weird, right? I'm trying not to make this weird. What I wanted to say was that you guys are great, but on the topic of race relations, you have let the dumbest niggas take the lead, and now you're embarrassing the rest of us on the world stage when guests like Tyla come and visit our beautiful country. And to give you just one example of the racial stupidity propagated by said dumb niggas, let us consider this colored person v. person of color distinction. For any foreigners who aren't aware, Americans get really mad when you call black people colored, but when you call them people of color, no one really gives a shit. And if you're thinking, that's strange, the adjective form of the thought being expressed is considered offensive, whereas the prepositional phrase of the same exact thought is totally benign, that doesn't seem to make any sense. And you're right, it doesn't make any fucking sense. But American black people play this really cool game with the whites, where they trick them into thinking that any time a black person gets called a colored person, they turn into fucking Raven Simone, and have a flashback to some pre-MLK hellscape where they're sitting in the back of some bus and not being allowed to vote. And my message to the American black delegation on this issue is basically, alright gang, you had your fun. Making white people feel uncomfortable over a racial history they had no role in bringing about is hilarious. I get it, okay? But when that tomfoolery makes colored queens like Tyla feel afraid to freely express her cultural heritage, you're doing too much. Chill with that shit. Chill with that shit. Anyway, let's read Tyla's statement on the matter, which she posted to Twitter. Yo guys, never denied my blackness. I don't know where that came from. I'm mixed with black/Zulu, Irish, Mauritian, Indian, and colored. In South, I would be classified as a colored woman, and other places I would be classified as a black woman. Race is classified differently in different parts of the world. I don't expect to be identified as colored outside of South by anyone not comfortable doing so, because I understand the weight of that word outside of SA, South Africa. But to close this conversation, I'm both colored in South Africa and a black woman. As a woman for the culture, it's and, not or. With that being said, Asambe. That, I'm guessing that's some Wakanda Forever type shit. I don't know what that is, but yeah. Bro, I feel like I'm getting psyoped right now. Like I don't know if she put out the statement because so many people were getting so mad about it that she just felt like she had to address it, or if this entire thing is just a perfectly executed PR campaign that her team came up with to place her at the center of some culture war shit that everyone's going to talk about. And I'm going to just take it at face value, okay? And say that we really live in a world where some portion of American black people feel that it's appropriate to tell a South African colored woman that she can't identify as colored around them, and that if she does, she has an obligation to provide them an explanation for doing so. If that's the world we're living in, then the American black delegation can hold this international L for acting a fool, by being so arrogant as to think that their conception of black identity is so important and all-encompassing that it should dictate the self-image and expression of a South African woman who doesn't fit neatly into its categories. I think as the world becomes increasingly interconnected, we're bound to see a greater diversity of identities and backgrounds on display. And it's unfair for us to impose the racial taboos of one onto the other, and then go around saying that people are denying their blackness, or any other such nonsense. In conclusion, we should strive to treat people as individuals, irrespective of whatever racial label they use to describe themselves, and ultimately, move towards a society where racial categories matter less and less, Because caring about your race is for racists, and racists are fucking losers. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. Let me know if you agree, disagree, you're mad, it was funny, blah blah blah. Let me know how you feel. Like and subscribe if you fuck with my vibe. Thanks for watching. See you later. Have a good one. Bye bye.